Coming to you live from our Frankly Speaking Titan Studios here in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, we bring you another episode of Frankly Speaking Titans. I'm Larry Frank. I'm your host, and we're about 7 miles from the Fort Campbell Army Base here in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We want to first of all start our show, as always, by thanking the men and women who previously and who continue to serve to allow us freely every single day of the year. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And I'll tell you what, folks, everything looked like it was going against the Titans in this past game versus the Arizona Cardinals. And I'll tell you what, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, everything got better. It got better. And we have to give credit where credit is due. They won. They won. The most important statistic this week is that they won their first game of the year. Who cares about anything else? And all you hear from the media, the fans, is still the negativity that's been here since the beginning of the season and previous seasons. They won 22-1 after trailing 21-3. And all you hear about is how the Arizona Cardinals gave the game away. They gave the game away. Tennessee didn't win it. They were handed the game. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, to all those people who have those beliefs, I got one thing to say to you. You're full of crap. You are full of crap. This team was given opportunities, but in order to win the game, they had to capitalize on those opportunities, and they did. Let's give them credit for that. They were down 21-3. They went ahead, and yes, what was it? Amari DeMarcado, I believe it was, goes ahead, gets a run, 71 yards, but guess what? He drops the ball before the goal line. And guess what? We end up getting the ball on a touchback, and we drive down the field 80 yards. Okay? Now, there were situations in this game that people are saying, well, Larry, there was a interception that was fumbled that we scored on. He dropped the ball. Let me explain something to you folks. The Tennessee Titans, after DeMarcado dropped the ball, had to go 80 yards downfield to score. And they did it in a very unorthodox way. Here it was, Cam Ward went to throw a pass. It might have been to Gunnar Helm. I'm not sure who it was for, but it was tipped. I don't think a lot of people realize that ball was tipped. It was intercepted, then fumbled, and Tyler Lockett went ahead and jumped on the ball for a touchdown. Now, let's get two things straight here. Number one, he drove him down to the 20-yard line from his own 20-yard line. Okay? So what is that? About 60 yards. If he doesn't do that, that play doesn't mean anything because it's not in the end zone. Number two, Lockett, being very awake and seeing what's going on, jumps on the ball for a touchdown. But they still aren't winning yet. They capitalized on an error. They executed on that drive. Yes, there was an interception. It was tipped. But guess what? The ball, as much as we hate saying bounced our way, it bounced our way. Then what happens? They go ahead, get the ball back at, I believe, their 18-yard line. Ridley, probably the best series he had the entire year. Hitting home. What? He hit Helm on a play. I know he hit Ridley on a couple of balls. A beautiful, 38-yard pass that put him in field goal range. And then he also hit a combo. And you know what? You got to give Chig a lot of credit. He's been playing lights out. There's another guy that doesn't get enough credit. He started towards the latter part of last year, and he hasn't dropped the beat so far this year. He is playing very, very well and deserves a lot of credit. But then again, they get him in field goal range, and they kick the field goal to win it. Okay, there was 2 long drives. They had to go 80 yards and 82 yards in order, or actually they kicked the field goal. But at what we're saying here is they had to do and sustain long drives in order to win that game. Now, we talked last week in the preview of this game. They have to open up the offense. They have to open up the offense. They can't just throw these short passes on those last drives, guess what they did? They opened up the offense, but you know why? Give credit to that offensive line. The offensive line that we've been beating up all year that hasn't protected Cam finally went ahead and protected Cam, allowed him the opportunity to stand in the pocket. Sometimes he stood in it too long, but at the end of the day, when it counted most, Cam delivered in the fourth quarter, and the Titans get their first win. And continuing to go forward, which will go into the game next week, this offensive line is still without J.C. Latham. Let's not forget that. Moore played a good game. Of course, Skoronski played a good game. I mean, this line, they all played very, very well and gave him protection. When Latham comes back, that's only going to help that much more protecting Cam Ward. And now they can go ahead and open up that offense, use the running game to establish the passing game, run some RPOs, and throw the ball downfield a little bit. You saw what Cam can do when he has to do it. Laid a beautiful, gorgeous pass to Calvin Ridley. And Ridley, was targeted 10 times in this game, caught 5 passes. There was still a couple of drop balls by the receivers in this game, a couple of not so good passes. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you Cam had his best game, because he didn't. He had his best series. Cam was only 53% completion, 21 of 39 for 265 yards. But at the end of the day, when it counted more, he was there and he delivered. So you got to really, really good credit where credit is due. And let's stop making these comments. Stop listening to the damn media. Stop listening to these people who continue to be negative. This team came back from a huge deficit. 18-point deficit to score 19 unanswered points and win the ball game. How about the defense, folks? The defense gives up 0 points in the second half. Yes, there was a 71-yard run. Yes, Democado dropped the ball before the goal line. But overall, this defense came to play in the second half, holding them to 0 points after allowing 21 points in the first half. You got to give, how about Jeffrey Simmons? 1.5 sacks in this game. I believe he had I believe the team had a total of 3 sacks in this game. They caused 3 turnovers in the game. And Cedric Gray continues to play well. I hope it doesn't go unnoticed, because I'm noticing it. He had 6 solo tackles, 6 assists in this game. And you know what else I noticed, folks? And I don't know how many of you saw this, but for the first time, and I'm not saying this to degrade Brian Callahan, but for the first time, I felt like he looked like a head coach on the sidelines. He really did. He was encouraging his players, cheering for his players, being able, what great game management to bring them into field goal range with no time left on the clock so that the Arizona could not get the ball back. And we continue throughout the first 4 games, even last year, to criticize Callahan for his game management. Well, let's give him credit this time. Let's stop being jerks about this, and let's realize, if we're going to go ahead and criticize this man, let's give him credit when credit is due. He looked like a head coach, and I'm going to tell you something. If Brian Callahan is calling the plays in this game, we don't win this game. We do not win this game. It's not because he's a bad play caller. It's because I don't think his game management would have been as good if he had that dual role as it was in this game. And I give him a lot of credit. I really, really felt that he did a very good job. Hey, instead of a team going ahead and making the right adjustments against them, he made the right adjustments against Arizona. So let's give him credit where credit is due. Now, this is a nice win. It's a nice win. We still got a long way to go. There's no doubt about it. But like I said, folks, for those of you that are just being negative and saying, game was handed to them, you don't know football. You don't know football. You're being foolish if you think this game was handed to them. There was mistakes. There's no doubt about it. Arizona had a fumble. They had a couple fumbles, I should say. They had the one at the goal line. Then they fumbled, and Lockett jumped on it, like I said, for the touchdown. So there was a lot of mistakes made it. But this team, after the mistakes, you got to make it hurt. And that's exactly what the Tennessee Titans did. So let's give this team credit rather than trying to find excuses on why they won. They won a football game. And they did something they haven't done in a long time, besides win. In the fourth quarter, they came back. The defense held. It was just overall, when you break this game down, statistically, it doesn't look great. They weren't good on third down again, but they did win the turnover battle. They did get more sacks than the opposing team. The offensive line, hey, give credit. And how about the defense? Like I said, it once again in the second half. So there was some positive. And let's not forget Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan, he did a good job in this game, and he deserves credit for the job he did as a head coach. And don't forget, I mean, what play calling in the fourth quarter for Cam to go ahead and execute. Of course, Cam has to execute what is called, but I thought he called a very, very good game, being only his second game calling plays for the Titans. And it's really, really hard in mid-season to take over play calling, so give the credit. I mean, I know our theme's been give credit where it is due, but this team deserves credit. And this weekend we have another opportunity. We have another opportunity to go ahead and beat a team that is really struggling. They're really struggling as we go to Vegas this week to play the Raiders. The Raiders are 1-4. 1-4, and I'm moving stuff around as I always do to catch up here. Let me see if I can do this. My thing doesn't want to work here. Okay, there we go. Let's move this down a little more. There we go. Okay, so. All right, just having a little issue here, folks, so stay with me a minute with my computer. All right. So next, what is up this week? We go on to play the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are struggling. Oh my good. The 1-4 that got blown out. They got completely blown out by the Indianapolis Colts this past weekend, 40-6. 40-6. Geno Smith on the year. If you look at everything but interceptions, it doesn't look too bad. But the problem is, in 5 games, he has thrown 9 interceptions. If we put pressure on Geno Smith, we will win this game. And I'll tell you why. They're without not only the tight end, but the number 2 tight end. Mike Mayer is out. Brock Bowers is out. So now that one of their biggest areas of receptions on the offensive side of the football, tight end, they're using a third stringer. Now, they do have Ashton Gentry, but he's only, I say only, he's averaging 4.3 yards a carry, and they do have Jacoby Myers, who's leading the team in receptions so far with, I believe, 23 or somewhere in that area. So they do have some offensive weapons, but I'll tell you what, these are 2 of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL through the first 5 weeks, okay? This offensive line should be able to give good protection to Cam Ward again and allow them, if Bo decides, to open up the offense a little bit. And, I think this is a winnable game. And wouldn't that be great? Going on the road for 3 games and winning 2 out of 3? I'll tell you what. That would definitely be going in the right directions. So what are the keys to this game, folks? What are the keys? We know about our team, okay? But it's really simple. We have to establish the running game early. We got to get Pollard and Spears going early. Because if you do, once again, like I said last week, it's going to push those DBs, those linebackers up closer and allow Cam Ward to hit some deep routes, to hit some behind linebackers in the middle there for some big yardage. So we have to make sure that that we're establishing the running game. Other things, we have to keep our defense on the sidelines. Got to keep that defense on the sideline because, once again, you're playing in Vegas, you're playing inside, but if that defense is on the field too much, they're going to get tired and they're going to blow it in the fourth in the fourth quarter. So we got to go ahead and sustain long drives. How do you do that? You got to get some meaningful yardage on first down. If you get yardage on first down and give us, shorter distances on second and third down to get first downs, guess what? It's going to allow us to stay on the field longer and keep that defense on the field as well. Also, if you can stop Ashton Gentry, okay, one of the things now with the tight ends out, if you can stop their running game, you're going to Geno Smith to go ahead and throw the ball. And what does that do? What that's going to do is put a lot of pressure on him, and it's going to be the stress of throwing the ball. Look at Jacoby Myers, who is really the only receiver this team has right now on that field. It's going to force him to throw some interceptions. So if we can put that pressure on, win in the trenches, and we got to win in the trenches on both sides, folks. We got to put pressure like we did on Murray. We have to have pressure, and vice versa. Our offensive line has to open up some gaps for Pollard, but also has to protect Cam Ward like they did in the game versus the Arizona Cardinals. Time of possession. We didn't win the time of possession battle in Arizona, but it was only a 3-minute difference. But once again, if you can win in the trenches, you can protect Cam Ward, and your defense can put pressure on not Kyle Murray, on Geno Smith, your chances of winning this game and winning your second straight game and winning 2 out of 3 on the road is very, very high. Raiders are not a good team. Like I said, they're 1-4. They got a good coach in Pete Carroll. Geno Smith is struggling. We have an opportunity to win a second straight game on the road. But once again, we have to open up that offense. What I said last week, we have to let Cam be Cam. And when you let Cam be Cam, Cam's going to make mistakes, guys. He's a rookie. He's not ready yet. I'll tell you, I said it last week. I don't think he should have started the season on the field. I thought he should have sat some games and learned and watched and be educated on some of the things maybe Brendan Allen didn't do right. That Brendan Allen did do right. But that's not the way Cards played, okay? It didn't play that way. So now you got to accept some of the mistakes. Cam's going to throw some interceptions. Whether the ball is tipped, whether he makes a bad read, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, he showed you that he can handle adversity. He showed you that he can take the team down the field on a 2-minute drive. And he showed you that they can win. And I'm telling you what, folks, they should beat the Raiders this week. It's a 3 o'clock start Central Time. This should be a game that we win. This is Larry Frank, frankly speaking Titans.